In the studio, our in-house team, Raman, Kirpal, Editor-in-Chief, Manisha Pande, Managing Editor. Joining us from Chennai, Jayashree. Joining us from Punjab. And which city in Punjab, Amandeep?
Bangalore.
Oh, you're in Bangalore right now.
So Amandeep Sandhu, he is a writer and journalist. His essays, short stories have appeared in various anthologies, magazines and websites. I saw in one of the shows where they said, oh, this Gurdwara calls Bhindranwale a martyr. I want to ask that anchor, have you been to Harmandir Sahib? There's a plaque. I've written an article about this that refers to all the people who died there as martyrs. Within 10 feet of another plaque that commemorates all the Faujis who died there.
For the last 30 years, what is going on in the name of Khalistan is actually a cry, a lament that Punjab is expressing for justice. For all the injustices that have happened there, before perceived injustices also, before the Khalistan movement, post the Khalistan movement.
We know that there is a radical strain. We know that it has been dangerous. There have been bombings. We know that there is some nefarious nexus. But can the government handle it in a smart way where you address your concerns but don't push the community further by just labeling all of them?
I personally feel that Khalistan is a non-issue. But I feel that just one incident, if somebody in Delhi does anything to a Sikh,
And
it is going to flare up the...
I remember, Aman, I was in Dehradun and there was this one confection. Dehradun was well known for confectioneries. There was one called Standard, one was called Elora's. And Standard was owned by a Sikh. Among people we knew at the Doon Club and all, you should stop going to Standard, go to only Elora's. Because Standard was owned by a Sikh. And of course, when the 84 happened, Standard was set on fire and looted. All the pastries and all were looted.
Yes, anecdotally, it is a country full of love and lots of great things to love about it. But at a very basic level, something has gone wrong. And I think the fact that we're so inured to the headlines that you read out, I mean, you're reading out 4 really upsetting headlines, but I think most of us on the panel are a little bit like, yes, sounds about right for a day in India.
There was another video last week, similar. Yeah, exactly, right. Welcome to Chhota Hafta. Now, Chhota Hafta is but a small, chhota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go. अंग्रेज अपना लगान और Newslaundry अपना हफ्ता कभी नहीं छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of NL Hafta. We have a panel today that is going to talk about Punjab, because Punjab has been in the news not for the reasons of anything happening in Punjab, but in Canada. If you were to watch Indian media, you would assume that Khalistan is a big issue, whereas at least in my understanding, it is a non-issue. Now, to what extent is the media responsible for unnecessarily creating something that was extremely dangerous, and many people sitting in prime time haven't seen that Punjab. I was in my senses when that Punjab existed and I had relatives there. So it alarms me a little bit. But does this play at all on the ground? Is it something that should be toned down? Is the government responsible for making a non-issue an issue?
In Punjab, so much has happened since the militancy movement. There are so many other tragedies to deal with that people really start thinking about. I mean, an idea like Khalistan, in which so many thousands of lives were lost, they can't go back to thinking that we want another state or we should start a movement for another state, country for that matter. In the diaspora, most of those who went during the 80s and early 90s, they fled from Punjab, whether it was from the militancy movement or from the Punjab police in many cases. They now have a new generation there, whom they have given the story about India being whatever, the kind of unjust state, So that generation harbors some thoughts about it. But again, look at the migrant really. The migrant who goes to any country, they work hard, they try to bring their family over, they try to build a house, they try to fund something in their village back home. They are not always talking Khalistan.
I think many things can coexist. Like Aman was saying that I know people, I have friends, when we became adults at the age of 20, 21, they'd say, dude, first chance I got, I'm out of this country. I will not put myself or my children into the position that I saw in 84 in Delhi. They were clear, we are not Indian. But they did not support a cause for Khalistan. So the following thoughts can coexist. They have a sympathetic view of Bhindranwale. They have a sympathetic view of all the people who we call terrorists. They do not support Khalistan as a concept, but they don't want to live in India.
I actually have a very close friend who was in Canada up till a year ago, and now she's come back because she has some unfinished work in India, but her sister's there. So I was asking her what do people think there. So two things she told me. One was that she said this is all over the news, and what's sad is for a lot of people here, they don't understand that within Sikhs, it's a minority of people who may be involved in these criminal activities or may harbor such sentiments. It's not all of us. And all of us are now having to explain when we go to our offices or when we go to our workplaces that, you're asked questions, do you also believe in this? Are you also a Khalistani or whatever? So, you've put a lot of migrants in this position where they're having to explain themselves and say, no, but that's not what we believe in, or no, that we don't agree with it. And I haven't followed enough of the Canadian press, but I think we should be really careful about how this particular incident can be used as a dog whistle against immigrants there. Because then you tar everyone coming from Punjab or someone turbaned or someone with a khulli dadi as, probably a gang member or a Khalistani.
Which I'm sure the right wing of...
Which I'm sure the conservatives, they want to prop up that.
There are those jhankis that go with Indira Gandhi's assassination shown as some sort of this thing.
Yeah.
Are they... Shouldn't Canada, even if they can't do anything, say... legally, because freedom of speech is very important for them.
Even if they can't slap them with a sedition.
Should not there at least be a slightly more sympathetic to the Indian view?
If I don't know what to do with my freedom, let God not give me the power to execute it. But look at what happened with Charlie Hebdo, at Paris a few years back. So I think it's to be responsible with what you want to convey. But if anybody thinks that by hitting the tricolor with shoes, with raising Kill India slogans, you will actually get a new country in this world, I think it's very, very misplaced.
But then what is sedition for us may not be sedition for, in Canada and the US. I think we need to understand their culture. If we see their own protests, happening over there, I think they just let those protests happen, even if it is against the serving president or and we don't have the similar kind of situation in India.
So you said how Khalistan has now become this sort of bogey term, right? But is it not also just so frequently used right now by the Modi government for this sort of small strongman image ahead of the election? So we're saying that Canada doesn't also respond adequately to India's queries, but India right now is using Khalistan to cover a whole variety of sins, right? From the farmer protests to any sort of violence that breaks out in Punjab, whether or not it's related to Sikh separatists, they will attribute it to Sikh separatists.
We are facing allegations with allegations without trying to actually reflect and see where are we going wrong? What are we really doing? And what is it causing? And to come back to Abhinandan's original question, what is the diaspora feeling? Very concerned. Lakhs of students from India and 70% of them from Punjab, Haryana region, they go to study in Canada because our education system is really not at par. They work double jobs. They live in shelter homes. They earn money to be able to send back home, pay off loans. And all of them are now in a crisis.
So we know the Canadian diaspora and broadly, how Khalistan may be of relevance to some people there. But in Punjab, what is the sense that you get from everything that's happening in Canada? Are people despondent? Has that made them angrier towards the BJP government? Because anyway, BJP has, doesn't have a great presence in Punjab. What's the rumblings on the ground?
See, we have to, very briefly, I'll just touch upon it. What happened last time? and what happened this time. Last time when the Anandpur Sahib resolution was written in 1972 and later ratified in 78, India was still a very young country. The Sikhs in India had sided with India. They had said, no, we'll not go to Pakistan. A whole partition happened, And then they were feeling, however they were feeling at that time, that's why they wrote the resolution. In Chennai, they wrote the Rajamanar panel report, like it came out at the same time by the DMK. So there was, and today the Congress is talking about federalism. It is at that time they were raising these issues. But Sarkaria Commission happened, both the reports are banished. Karnataka came up with a report. West Bengal government came up with a report. So all of them were basically saying we need to have a greater federal structure for India, which that time nobody listened to.
I would like to discuss with the panel a general attitude of us as a society. And I'm just going to, plot 4 incidents together. And what does this say about us as a society? One is this disgusting, disgraceful speech made by Bidhuri, the South Delhi Lok Sabha member of parliament, which represents where we are sitting right now. A 12-year-old girl was raped in Madhya Pradesh. A woman of marginalized community, because some moneylenders claimed that she did not pay back the money that was due, 1,500 rupees. She was stripped and urinated upon. And in Meerut, a young man wearing a skull cap in a college was attacked. What does it really say about us as a society? Can we claim to be closer to, societies that have systems?
If holding election is the only qualifier to be a democracy, then yes, we are a democracy. But I think we are a horrendously savage nation. I don't understand why we pretend otherwise. I think we are at the core very violent. We are so deeply riven by caste and by religion. This is expressly exacerbated by political parties. We are a baseline savage nation that is made worse by radicalization.
So I think society, if you're considering society a very monolithic concept, which I think is
oversimplifying it.
Which is you are oversimplifying it. So I think you have many India within Indias. Okay, you can't say that you have all kind of peoples all over, and even in Punjab, where I also frequently go, I mean, I also see a ray of hope. People are like Gurdwara for Punjabis and Sikhs, is a very, very sacred place even today. And I see, both of them going. So I see lots of positivity also in this. But yes, the incidents that you have, spoken about.
Why only point fingers at others? In winter, Jayashree and Aman don't face that because they live in places that have temperate, tropical temperatures throughout. Delhi winter, we all know how
Bangalore
many...
will be so upset that it's been clubbed with Chennai.
How many people die every winter in the streets of Delhi? Because Delhi is cold enough to kill you. That's a fact. When I drive home, I pass 3 flyovers and red lights. I see people sleeping there on the side. I know many of them are not going to make it through this winter. I don't stop and say, come, I'll give you shelter.
But I think with crime stories, as gory as they may sound, if we just take isolated incidents or even frequent incidents of, page 1, page 3, page 5, headlines of murder, rape, crime, clubbing of death in homes, or that gory case, they aren't, I wouldn't take them as an accurate representation of society, because broadly, I feel we are moving in a direction which is better than we were, say, 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
Bas, muft mein itna hi milega. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public Because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below, and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.